we've become so emotionally woke, right? In our feelings because of how mental health is so mainstream and how being human is literally mainstream, that when you see content creators that are like, I'm fine, I never have a bad day, they see right through it.
What is up, everyone? How is everyone doing? I can't talk. I'm already tongue-tied tonight. I hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to the Down the Rabbit Hole. I am Morph. Tonight, we're going to be talking with Andi Strive in just a few minutes. She is going to be on talking with me about personal accountability, mental health. But I did want to go over a couple of things real quick. I stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 p.m. on Twitch TV under the name Morph Games. That's MRRPH Games. And you can always check out other videos I upload on my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/morphine, MRRPHEEN. If you're a streamer or content creator and you're serious about success, you need to join the Creators Hub, a Discord community for all streamers and content creators to learn how to improve skills, get advice, and grow. What they offer is an opportunity to collab with other creators, a self-promotion channel, welcoming and friendly community, great advice and tips from other streamers, a variety of channels, and so much more. So join the Creators Hub today, the Discord community. There have been some things which actually tie kind of nicely into what Andi Strive and I will be talking about tonight. And that is a reoccurrence of a hate raid, this time more purposeful and targeted than the ones before. And that was by a newly partnered streamer named Gideon, who has a following of 3 million or so on YouTube. He's very big over on YouTube. And he came through and decided that because he doesn't like Pokey, in his own words, he decided he's going to hate raid her and direct his thousands of followers or viewers to just say some awful things to her and whisper people in her chat. And they did, and it was just completely uncalled for. And he ended up getting banned fairly quickly. And that 14-day ban turned into a permanent ban, which is well deserved because it was fully intentioned to do what he did. And there's no place for that. It doesn't matter that it's Pokemon. It matters that he did it. Why don't we get into this with Andi Strive? And yay, the cams are working. So I want to flip over here, unmute her mic, lower the music. How you doing, Andi Strive?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. There apparently are a lot of steps that I had to take. I was thinking it was just one button. No, I gotta drop the music, raise the mics, and do all sorts of stuff.
That's how it always is.
It is indeed. What I want to go over is, again, the stuff that I was talking about at the beginning with the hate raids recently. What is your take on that kind of behavior, and what do you kind of things you think can be done to protect people from that?
Well, I think the issue starts with we're thinking about the names of the people that are involved.
Yeah.
And that can cloud our judgment just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if we look at it from that standpoint, or think about it as your friend even, you have either two friends that you know or a stranger and one friend that you know.
Yeah.
And somebody rated your friend or somebody rated a streamer that you liked and it was full of hate. Only, and it was very much centered around their gender. And how would you respond to that? Just you have to take those names off of there. Mm-hmm. I think I'm seeing a lot of people that are jumping to a conclusion based off of an opinion of that individual. And we have to sometimes look at things objectively and really think about, okay, this was a human being. Okay, remember how alike we are. I'm a human being. They're a human being. I have feelings. They have feelings.
I think that, again, not jumping to conclusions, because you just cautioned against that. But I think some people have a hard time relating to or showing empathy towards somebody that is not like them. The unconscious bias that we all have. And, you sort of, wherever you grow up, the people you grow up with, the people you go to school with, you sort of develop this homogenous mindset, and you don't realize that you're biased against people that aren't like you. but it makes you not feel as bad for them when things like this happen. And do you think that plays a part in people's responses in general?
So, well, there's a couple things, right? So you've got gender playing into this, and then you have society and stature within society. And so you're having one demographic have an opinion on a demographic that they don't get me wrong, there are people that completely sympathize and understand what it means to be a woman in today's society. It doesn't matter what gender they are. But there's still something to be said that, it's still hard unless you've lived through it, they can be sympathetic to what you're going through. But until you've really lived it, until you've been, diminished or brought down a couple of notches, just because of your gender or how you identify as your gender.
Yeah.
That until you experience it, it's really hard to describe what it's like for something that you literally have you were born this way, Yeah. And to be ridiculed in any way based off of just how you were born or, how you identify. Yeah. It's really hard for other people to come in with an opinion to say, well, they shouldn't feel that way, or it should be fine, or it should be. It's like, well, until you've lived through it, don't really think you have a place to chime in here.
There's just not a high level of empathy, I feel like, in a lot of people, you know, and that makes it hard for you to understand what they're going through. Maybe they live in a community where everyone is thinking, like I said before, homogenous. Everyone is thinks the same exact way. So you don't have those outside viewpoints. You don't have those different points of views.
Well, and I think too, there's also to be said, with stature, right? So if we all think about, because another way to relate to this as well, that I think some people forget about, is everybody should think about their favorite musical artist. Okay. People that have made it big time. And how many times when we read the tabloids and seeing the emotional response of somebody who is not a fan, and how do we feel about that? Like with you can think about, anybody, if a power couple divorces, or, the whole Britney Spears thing, or just anybody that you think of. And I think it's just so easy for us, especially people who are in that 1%, that we kind of forget that even if these people are in that top tier, that they go through just as many problems that we do. They have just as many emotions. They have probably more stress.
Yeah.
And it's like when people hit this certain level, it's like it goes out the window for how people sympathize when bad things happen. But thankfully we've gotten better at kind of realizing, like, as more people have come forward with mental health and things like that, that we cannot be so quick to judge just because of stature. When
you go on stream, when any of us go on stream, we essentially are putting up a mask, no matter what our day is like. We turn our cams on and we say, hey, everybody, how's it going? And then we try to have a good time and make people feel good for a couple hours, no matter what our day was like. When people come into our streams and they are having a bad day and they're sort of like what they call it, like trauma dumping,
Yes.
You try to help them, but realize that when you do that, sometimes it affects other people in the viewer who are viewers, but it also might affect the streamer,
Yes.
And I think they forget that that streamers have feelings too,
and the energy that it takes to do what we do. There's an energy level that's expelled as well, that so many streamers, when they're saying, okay, everybody have a good night, bye, and they stop streaming, the first thing we all do is like, because we're on that energy level of providing great content.
Yeah.
And then we are wiped. There's an energy that's expelled every time as well. That's just, it's difficult sometimes.
When you guys out there who are streaming, you start feeling like this. You start feeling like it's too much. You go on stream, you're like, okay, let me get myself together. It's okay to not stream. It's okay to take time off for yourself, because there aren't necessarily going to be a ton of people out there looking out for you. So you have to make sure that you are the one person, if anyone, who's looking out for yourself. And I know I've said this in the stream before, people don't like to take time off because they feel like maybe they're letting down their community. Maybe they feel like they're going to lose momentum, any momentum they build. And you know what? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You might lose a little bit, but that's better than the alternative of getting to a point where you're just broken. No?
Well, I saw an amazing tweet, and I actually think it was today. And she said the perfect thing about community, which was it's better to have 100 people who are your dedicated community than 1,000 people who don't know who you are or why they're there.
Yes.
And so it's those 100 that are going to be there no matter if you take a break or not.
Yep.
You know? And so it's not worth keeping that 1,000 because they're going to eventually go anyway. It's just a matter of when.
Right.
Because they're not, those aren't your people.
Right.
You know, you need to find your people, and they will stay, and they will be patient, and they will wait, and they will understand. And it's okay to take those breaks. But it's been really interesting, though. I have been, reading a lot on Twitter lately, and definitely mental health and streaming have really come to light, like together as a pair. Probably I've noticed specifically in the past 3 to 6 months, it has really been talked about quite a bit. We had all of this energy, and we couldn't go out to expel that energy. So we basically were able to pour ourselves into our content for a year or two. And that's starting to rear its ugly head because now you're seeing people that have burnout, that are exhausted, they're stressed, imposter syndrome, all that stuff. And you're seeing even big streamers that are like, guys, I need a break. Like, I got to breathe.
Yeah.
So but at the same time, you're hearing the same almost, musical chant of you have to be consistent in your content if you want to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is this really interesting dialogue that's happening between the lines of like, that's true, but at what cost?
Yeah.
If the streamer's mental health goes in the toilet, then it doesn't matter because they're never going to grow their stream because their mental health isn't there. So,
right.
And I think people are really starting to realize that as they're getting into streaming, or if they've been in streaming for a little while and they're exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely interesting to see the different narratives that are coming through, for sure.
Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, all the other sites where you stream on, I dare anybody to go find me a link to where they talk about this is how you care for your mental health, like from those companies. I dare anyone to try to find that link. I haven't been able to find them out there. Not saying they don't exist, but it's certainly not visible because it's not in their best interest to tell people to take breaks.
And that's why it's so great that there's programs, there's people out there like Dr. K that, and I think that's why Dr. K, is in the position that he's in too, is because he addressed he was almost kind of ahead of the game. He kind of saw it coming a mile away, of mental health with content creators. And, he knew, and he was able to actually partner with Twitch and actually, create programs for content creators when it comes to dealing with things like burnout and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely something that it's so interesting. Like over time, like when I was younger, mental health was only talked about if you were in a padded room. That was what mental health was.
Yeah.
If you were in an institution with a padded room, that was mental health. Anything else, you're just going through a tough time. You just got to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
Then as time went on, we started talking about ADHD and ADD.
Yeah.
But it still was like but it was still like on the edge. Like you had to be really, really far out there with ADHD or ADD for it to be really discussed. Now look at us with mental health, Now it's like, we all need therapy, which is true. Like we all need therapists. We all need somebody to talk to. We all need help. Like, absolutely. And so and now you're kind of seeing the content creation community almost go through the same timeline, just in a different way. First it wasn't talked about at all. Everybody's pushing content all the time. Now you're seeing big content creators take breaks. Now you're seeing mid to smaller content creators now starting to talk about mental health and take breaks. Like, so I'm just really interested to see like where it goes next, where they say, okay, you don't have to put out a TikTok every day.
Right.
And that you can still grow your community in a healthy environment, and seeing companies respond in a way that endorses that type of healthy creation.
But now it's okay to talk about it. And I think one thing that I do appreciate and didn't realize about the streaming community, the gaming community so much, was that there are so many people who are affected by these things, by anxiety, by depression, by ADHD, by you name it. And in general, I think that the community is accepting and they can sympathize fairly easily because it feels like everybody you talk to, it has some similar issue that you do.
We've become so emotionally woke, right? In our feelings because of how mental health is so mainstream and how being human is literally mainstream, that when you see content creators that are like, I'm fine, I never have a bad day, they see right through it.
Right.
You know, and so now when content creators can come forward and say, listen, guys, I'm tired, I am burnt out, I need a week. Like, I love you guys, but I need a week.
Yeah.
What you're seeing now is a response of acceptance and understanding and, oh, we've got you. We'll see you next week. We're not going anywhere. We'll miss you. You take all the time you need.
Right.
As opposed to maybe before where people are like, well, forget this person. I'm going to find somebody else. But again, you're finding that human element, that human connection nowadays, that people are really sticking around the more human you are.
But not everything is positive, you know?
Right.
You, like, as you and I and Main Beach and Miss Savage and Sammy discussed about a month or so ago, there's a certain population and a certain quantity of that population that feel that people need to be reminded or put in their place or something to that effect. And as helpful as so many of our communities are, you know, one troll comment wipes out a lot of that.
Yeah,
and
it does.
And that has been difficult for some people to deal with, and it continues to be. So you know, we're talking about all this good stuff, how supportive communities, but you also have to be ready and accept that you're going to be faced with negative comments.
Yes.
And that will be more or less depending on your various demographics. And I don't need to spell that out for people to understand what I'm talking about.
Well, and there's always like the great saying that like hate is louder, but love has longevity. So that's true because hate is loud and fast.
Yeah.
Love is soft and enduring. And and that's hard because when hate hits you, it packs a punch.
Yeah.
It packs a punch. And all it takes is one person. It doesn't have to be a raid full of hate. It can be just one person saying one thing.
Yeah.
And your world can feel like it's crumbling.
It does. And even when you can tell yourself this probably has something to do with something that happened to them, it's still hard to get past what you're feeling in the moment.
Course.
You like you just said, you can try to rationalize it and sort of logic it away. But it doesn't always mute the feelings that you have. When you talk about personal accountability, you know, what kind of things would you say to someone that does come in and they just feel it's okay to troll or make someone or put someone down?
Well, so I at least I was very fortunate. I had the most amazing grandfather who taught me some very precious things about life. But one of the things that he did that really taught me a life lesson, and it's not easy. I'm a preface it. It's not easy, But the whole concept of kill it with kindness, right? It's such an easy saying. That sounds so easy, right? But also at the same time, I learned that nothing, you know, it kind of wraps into that whole, like, the greatest revenge is success. And so it's, you know, if somebody comes in and starts spreading, you know, some type of hate or whatever, that instead of, because they're looking for a reaction.
Yeah.
That's what they want. And I am not going to give it to them. You know, and there's a little bit of pleasure in that, you know, but there's just kind of like, you know, thank you so much for coming in here. I'm glad that you were able to come in here and say what you needed to say. Good for you. I wish you all the best. And, you know, because it probably riles them up because it's like, oh, she didn't get upset or she didn't get mad or she didn't throw something. I'm like, nope, because you didn't win.
Yeah.
But instead of like coming to their level, like dropping down, I would just rather like kill it with kindness and be like, hey, appreciate you coming in and adding one to my viewership. Bye-bye, and hit ban. You know, like it's
kind of shifting gears a little bit. How important it is, do you think people should focus on doing what makes them happy versus just trying to please the viewers in terms of their mental health?
That's a great question. So here's the thing. You go to bed with you.
Mm-hmm. Nobody
else. Okay. Doesn't matter if you're by yourself or not, but you have to go to bed with yourself every day. In the concept of you lived that day. Nobody else lived your day but you. And so you have to go to bed every night knowing that you did what you did, whether you went to work, you talked to a friend, you streamed, you networked, you did a TikTok, whatever your day looks like.
Yeah.
You have to sleep with your actions, right? And how daunting would it be to lay your head down every night knowing you had to do something that you're claiming to be passionate about, and your passion was doing something you didn't want to do?
Right.
Like that, you can't sleep. You might be able to sleep with that for a little bit because you're seeing results, you're seeing numbers. So you're going to justify why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And, oh, I'm seeing growth, and, oh, my community's growing, and look at these numbers, and look at these statistics, and I must be doing something right, even though I'm not feeling it. I'll just keep doing it a little bit more. But man, it is going to catch up to you. And you're going to be upset with yourself because it's lost time, because at some point you are going to start over. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
You know? And so why waste that time? Now, there is repercussions behind this too, right? Because if you do have a community that says, I want you to play Pokemon, and you're like, I don't want to play Pokemon anymore. I'm just done with I've caught them all. Okay. Yeah. I've caught every Pokemon. We're done. And you want to move on. There is going to be fallout. It is not a perfect world that every action we take has some type of reaction. And so the fallout is yes, you could lose some viewership, right? You could lose, a percentage, because maybe they were only there because they're all things Pokemon. And the minute you step away from Pokemon, they're done. But as we've talked about with community and numbers, it's better to have those 100 dedicated people that don't care what you play. They're there for you.
Yeah.
Versus the 1,000 that are there to watch you play Pokemon. Because they're going to go. They're going to find somebody else that's playing. They're going to be fine. Yep. Don't worry about them.
Yep.
Worry about those 100 people that are there for you. And then what you find is you've built your niche or your brand or whatnot around you so that you can play anything to your heart's content. You wake up one morning and you want to play Pokemon, you play Pokemon. You wake up another day, you want to play Dead by Daylight, you play Dead by Daylight. But everybody still shows up regardless, because you've built your niche around you and your personality and not around the game.
I could not agree with you more. The way that you have a community, the way that you get a community that's going to be there to love and support you is when they're there, like Honey Shive said, no matter what you're doing. If you're playing a game for 4 hours or if you're just chatting for 4 hours, they're there for you because they like you and your personality. So you want to do the things that you want to do on the stream, because people see that you're passionate and you're driven, and that shows that's different than that you are faking it, because they can tell. So you need to also try to be as authentic as possible, authentic as possible, without doxing yourself or whatever, but be authentic, because that is what shows people who you are, and they'll connect. If you're putting on an act, I mean, I'm not talking Dr. Disrespect as a different animal. Like, he embodies that character he plays. But for just about everybody else, be you.
Right.
Be you. What I like to remind people of, and which is low-key reminding myself, is we shouldn't expect people to show up every single time we stream. Everybody that comes to your stream has a life. They have different events. Just because you are able to start your stream on time, on your regular schedule, doesn't mean that Joe next door is just sitting there, when's it going to go live? When's it going to go live? When's it going to go live? Like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. So try not to get too caught up in it. And one thing that people in chat are saying now is a lot is, don't look at your numbers. Don't look at your viewer numbers. That doesn't help your frame of mind.
Yes.
When I started, I kept it on. I wanted to see, and I'd go from
Mm-hmm.
3 to 1, and I'm not exaggerating. I'm like, oh my god, what did I just do? What did I? Did I just offend them? When of course I wasn't thinking of, oh, their dinner was ready. They had to go get dinner.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
So have you experienced,
Oh yeah.
okay.
Oh yeah. I've gone from like 15 to 5. Like it was it would just be wild. I think too, like, but at the same time, I've also been able to kind of call myself out. I've been able to have a strive to strive conversation too, which it's really hard for us to do. And I'll fight myself, man. I am my biggest cheerleader and my biggest fighter, because I will, some days I'll be really good at being lovingly critical, in a sense that I'm like, okay, but what did you really do? Okay, so last week your numbers were this week your numbers were that, and you're upset about it. But really, what did you do differently between last week and this week? And there's a great, I don't, for those that have heard of Sean Cannell from Think Media on YouTube, I absolutely love his content on making YouTube videos and all that kind of stuff. But my favorite thing that he says is, it's not about growing overnight.
Right.
You don't go from 0 to 100. Just improve 1%. That's it. If you can just focus on 1% of improvement in some way, whatever that is, whether it's your stream, your overlay, your personality, something you do in your community, some kind of fun event that you make, whatever that 1% is, as long as you're doing 1% of improvement each time, then you will get to that 100%. And I have been critical, I call it lovingly critical. I've been lovingly critical of myself to say, okay, but you really didn't do anything that was 1% of improvement.
Yeah.
So what are you really upset about? Are you upset that people didn't come? Or are you upset that you know that you needed to do you could have done a little bit more, like just 1% of something, Right. But instead I just wanted to hit go live and just think that miraculously everything would be better. But it's like, what? There's nothing better. This is the same as last week. This is the same as last month. Like,
right.
Why would I expect anything different if I'm not putting in just not a ton of work, like not working yourself until you're exhausted, but just 1% of effort.
Right. So along with being lovingly critical, you also need to make sure that you're honest with yourself, because it's pretty easy to look at what you did and, let's say your average viewership is decreasing, and you're looking, maybe you're looking at your VODs, you're like, no, I'm perfect. Everything is great. Something's wrong. Sometimes it's hard to be objective with yourself. So if you have somebody that you trust that will look at your stuff and say, I think you could do this. Don't try. Now, I'm saying this because it's not always easy for me either. Try not to be defensive. Try to have an open mind. Be, like she said, lovingly critical, but also celebrate the successes that you have.
Your wins can still just be that you had fun. Yep. That's okay.
Yep.
That's quite all right. Have fun. I mean, again, you want to look back on this time and have fond memories. So have fun. But if you start leaning towards your numbers and you're like, but why hasn't this grown? Or why haven't I gotten this? Or why am I turned down for that? Or why isn't this happening? You can have fun and celebrate the fun, but this does involve some work.
In content creation and streaming, when you start out doing it, I always tell people you have to figure out what your motivation is. Like, why do I want to get into streaming? And what are my goals? And once you figure out what your goals are, then you want to set milestones up and have plans to hit those individual milestones so you can get to the bigger goal. Because sometimes if your bigger goal is just partner, you can't really measure that exactly. So you need to have smaller goals. Okay, I want to average 10 people. I want to average 20 people. I want to average 40 people. I want to get to 100 followers, 200, 500 followers. Stuff that you can measure along the way. But remember too that some of your goals should also be, I want to become better at speaking publicly. Right. Or for me, I want to be better at looking at the camera. You know what I mean? Or whatever. So there are other things you're going to learn. I did not enjoy speaking publicly before I started streaming. It was a weird choice for me to do this because I didn't like doing that a lot. But because I do it and I have practiced at it, and I'm basically making a presentation 3 to 4 days a week, every week. I have got so much better at speaking to people and presenting something than if I had not started doing this. So
Right.
Even if I never reach, a goal of being a partner or whatever it is, like you just said, I have picked up other life skills along the way. I now know how to use all of this equipment that I have. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know much about cameras or whatever before I started. So now I do. Or microphones. If you asked me a year ago, what's the difference between an XLR and a USB mic? I'd be like, oh, who? You know what I mean? But now I know. now I know what those are, and I know what they mean. I know how to configure them. So there are other, maybe less obvious wins and goals that you're going to achieve from streaming and content creation than just financial or just status or that little purple check that a lot of people want next to their name.
Yes. Well, and also too, it's like, even with having goals, even if you have goals of like small goals of followers, like even that's dangerous. I'm trying to make goals that are not dependent on others. Anything that is dependent on another human element should not be a goal. What should be my goal is things that are within my control. I can control my stream. I can control my personality. I can control, like my presentation. I can control, fun little things that are done during the stream. I can control, my boundaries within the stream. I can control, like, all those things I can control. As long as I can control those things, then those are goals that I can make. I can make goals of how often I make YouTube videos. I can make goals of how often I post on TikTok. Those are all centered around me and my actions. I cannot control how many followers I get. Right. I cannot control how many subs I get. I cannot control how many retweets I get, And so if I can separate that, it really helps kind of hone in and kind of that taking that responsibility and that accountability of like looking back and saying, okay, did I do this? Did I do that? Did I do this?
Yep.
Because then you have nobody to answer for but yourself.
And one acronym that I use for myself when I'm setting goals, and yes, this is from the business world or anything probably. Make sure your goals are SMART, right? Is SMART? Yes. SMART being an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely, I think. Yes. So in addition to making sure that the things that you can accomplish, you need to make sure that you know how to hit that goal. If you just say my goal is to be a Twitch partner, what does that mean? What does it mean? Like, there's a lot of things that go into it. So you need to break that down to points that you can measure your progress.
I think it's just it's so easy for us to think about like that. Those really odd end goals. I want the check mark, and it's like, but why? What did that mean for you? Like, what did you do to get it? Like, because you hear people that like let's look at like overnight millionaires, right? And you hear all the time that like they're not happy. They don't feel like they've accomplished anything. They don't feel like they've done anything to warrant becoming a millionaire. Like, and you kind of see this human element of like they didn't really do anything to achieve it. If you achieve the check mark, great. There's nothing wrong with achieving that status.
Yeah.
But when you look back, what did you do to achieve it? Right. What work did you put into it? Because when you get that check mark, you want to be proud. Be proud of your hard work. Be proud of those nights that you stayed up just a little bit extra to finish that video. Be proud of the people that you networked with and created collabs with. And, be proud of the friends and community that you've built. Be proud of those things. Yep. So that when that check mark comes along, all that hard work has, brought you to this point and elevated you to the next thing. So we know that we've got TikTok, we have Instagram, we have YouTube, maybe something like Hover. If you're using Hover, you've got Twitch. Okay. So we're already looking at, you have Snap, if you do anything on Snap. So you have all these different, platforms, right? To promote yourself. Don't do all of them, please. Please don't do all of them. I think one of the biggest things that I see that is a huge deterrent is when someone says, I've got to post an Instagram reel and a TikTok and a YouTube short and a YouTube video, and then I've got to stream later tonight, and then I've got slow your roll. Yeah. Pick three. Pick your big content creation, what your big number one is, which might not be Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
That's really something to wrap your head around sometimes, is Twitch might not be your main platform. Twitch can be a supplemental, but think bigger. YouTube might be your main platform, your YouTube videos
mm-hmm. that
you make, and people come to your stream to come hang out with you and talk to you, but your bread and butter might be your YouTube videos, So pick three winners, whatever they are to you. It could be like TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. It could be Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, whatever the three are. And just focus there. Just focus there and say, okay, I would like to make, start, when we say start small, so we know that the goal for TikTok is to post once a day. Yeah. That already seems like a tall order. Okay. How am I going to make a video a day, on top of everything else?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say okay, I would like to make, 3 videos a week. So it gives me some gaps. Now that's not where I want to be. I want to be at 1 video a day.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just going to dip a toe in,
mm-hmm.
Something that's measurable. So it's part of those SMART goals. So it's still measurable. Say, okay, let me do 3 TikToks in a week, whatever that looks like. It could be 2 in one day. It could be 1 on Monday and 1 on Thursday and 1 on Friday. Doesn't matter. I got 3 TikToks out this week. Cool. Mission accomplished. Pat on the back. And then for YouTube, okay, well, I really want to put out 1 YouTube video a week, but that's a tall order. Okay, so let's put out 1 YouTube video every other week, and that gives me a week buffer. And then I can really gauge what my schedule looks like to see if I can eventually build to 1 a week. And if I can't, what can I do to get there? And then for Twitch, it's don't stream every day, because you need to make time to do your other content. So how many, let's stream 2 days a week, or maybe 3 tops. And just these small little things, small bite-sized things that you can measure. Because remember, your small goals are not your end goals. And I think people jump to end goals really quickly. I see a lot of new content creators come in and they're immediately, I have an Instagram reel out every day. I have a TikTok every day. I have 2 YouTube videos a week, and I stream 5 days a week. And what happens is that burns out in a month. And now you don't really have anything to show, because now you went from doing everything to doing nothing.
Yes.
And your goals are meant to kind of elevate you to the next level, not completely deflate you to 0.
Mm-hmm.
So just realize that those small goals are not the end goals. They're the starting.
Talking about the virtues of being everywhere. And it's not that it's wrong to be on every platform.
No.
The only thing I think that we're saying is pace yourself if you feel you're getting burnt out.
Also, too, it's your content, it's kind of like what we talked about before with streaming, right?
Right.
That there are so many viewers out there. Your job is not to get all of them. It's impossible. That's an impossible goal. You're not there to get 10 million people, okay? Yeah. You're there to find your people, your community that you're going to build that spans multiple platforms.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing is if you spread it out so far, you're casting such a wide net. And what happens is you get those 1,000 viewers, but you don't get those 100 dedicated ones like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And so you get those 1,000 people and it feels real good.
Yeah.
It feels great. And you're like, look, I posted on every platform that ever existed. And look at these numbers. And I'm doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you change your game. You play a different game. Maybe you try to improve something in your stream that somebody's just not a fan of.
Yep.
And you lose them all. And then you're like, where did they go? And you blame yourself.
Yep.
And it's not about that. It's that you casted such a wide net. And you did initially bring people in, but you didn't bring in the people that were going to stay for you because you're you.
We do have a first question here in chat from Zulu Witch. How do you hold a troll accountable? Is everyone deserving of understanding and empathy?
think for yourself, like I think, a troll can come and go, right? But we hold on to it. The troll still lives in here,
Right.
They left a part of themselves with you with whatever they said. And it's almost like a level of forgiveness of just, I might have empathy. I might not know your story, whatever you went through to be that cruel. I hope you get the help you need one day. Obviously, you got something that you're not talking about, but it ain't my place to figure out what it is. In the moment, I don't necessarily think that they deserve that much of attention. Because a troll has they have a basic desire to accomplish one thing, and that's to rile you up.
Yeah.
And that's it. And to take over. They want to take over the conversation. They want to take over the stream or whatever they're doing. They want to take over. And by doing that, they derail you and they upset you. And then they leave. They're done. They accomplished what they wanted to. And then it sits with you. So I think the empathy is more about you making peace with it on the back end. And not letting troll stack on top of troll. Kind of had that empathy to be like, I wish you the best, man. Be like, don't know what you went through, but man, I hope you find the help you need.
Yeah.
But in the moment, I don't think you'd have to like suffer through it or have empathy in the moment. You have a right to set up the necessary boundaries to protect yourself and your community. And whatever that looks like for you, that's healthy. Whatever you've deemed for yourself is healthy for you and your community. You've got to roll with it, whatever that is. If it's an immediate permaban, then go for it.
It's like, I agree with you. At some level, everyone is deserving, but some people in the moment, you just need to, like you said, you just need to protect people, protect yourself, protect your community.
Yes.
Because, those, like when those hate raids were going on earlier this week, it was bad for the streamer, but it was also bad for the community.
Yes.
Because they were also being attacked and they're seeing someone who they idolize being attacked, which hurts them in a different way. We do have another question in here in chat. This is from Excelsior, who asked, how do you maintain boundaries with the viewers when they personally know you?
It's a great question. Oh, I like that one because I have quite a few in my community that know me in real life and I see in real life. And so the best way to think about it is like if you had a friend come to your job, think of your job, wherever you're working, and they show up and they act in a way that's very unbecoming, but everybody knows that it's your friend, right? So they go and say, I'm here to see Strive. And then they just act in a way that's like totally unbecoming. So now they're embarrassing me because of their behavior. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? This is my job. This is my livelihood. This is me. Like, this is a representation of me. What are you doing? So when it comes to boundaries with IRL viewers, it's kind of the same thing because it is your business. This is a business. We definitely have to look at this as kind of a business if you're depending on where you want to be. So let's assume you want this to be your full-time job.
Yep.
This is your business. And with business, business sometimes doesn't mix with friends.
Right.
And that's kind of where you have to look at those hard conversations to be like, hey man, look, I appreciate you coming in and supporting me, but if you're going to continue to be that way, I don't think you should be coming to the streams anymore. We can hang out and go grab a bite to eat. I can tell you all about what's going on with stream, but I can't have you, keep doing that in my stream. It's messing me up. And I hope you understand that.
Yep.
And if you support in what I'm doing, you're either going to come in and be chill and be cool and support me, or just, you don't have to come. It's fine. And then if it continues, then you got to have harder conversations because now you have a friend that's like literally disrespecting you and what you're trying to do. And those are decisions that you have to make of if that's really a friend that you want to have in your life.
If you enjoyed the show, have questions or topics you'd like covered in future episodes, let us know in the comments or send us a message. And we're always appreciative of any support for the show that allows us to bring you more high quality content. And as always, work hard, do good, and stay safe.